I just wanted to thank you for taking your time out to do this interview, and I just wanted to compliment you on the film. I thought the film was amazing. Just to start off, I watched it twice now.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. But tough
Um,
subject matter.
yeah, definitely. Start as someone who doesn't shy away from telling the whole truth in their films. When you got this script, did you sit down with Randall Sullivan and comb through it, or comb through the details, or like tell us about the process of how you went about portraying this particular script on screen?
Well, for me, I felt a deep responsibility to quote unquote reinvestigate the case. So actually, you are correct. Flew up to Portland and I sat with Randall Sullivan, the author of the book, but also prior to Russ's passing, a dear, dear friend of Russ's. They went down the rabbit hole into the labyrinth together. Also went to Colorado to visit Perry Sanders, who was the lead attorney on the Wallace family's civil lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles. And there were many sort of amazing people like Sergio Robledo, who was the lead detective on the civil case, but also Russ Poole's supervisor, who was our tech advisor on the film. So there was a lot of quote unquote people and rabbit holes and all these different, paths that I took because the book was not old or antiquated in its theories, but I had just noticed in our world of journalism today, you could essentially report anything, no one fact checks it, and then it becomes a version of fact. And I felt we had a responsibility to get all of the information, do the reinvestigation, and then present it in the film and not, as you said, shy away from the truth.
It's pretty interesting. I really like that. And then seeing that you worked with star-studded cast before on plenty of your other films, um, tell me about the interesting chemistry between Forest Whitaker and Johnny Depp. Did you know that it was going to be this compelling, or was it just happening organically?
Well, I'll take the compliment that you thought it was compelling. So thank you on that. Uh, they had worked together in Platoon years ago, and Johnny and I had been talking a lot about, who could fill the shoes of a Jack Jackson. Forrest is an actor forever that I've been completely enamored with, and to get a heavyweight, because that really is what acting is a bit. You never know, just like in boxing, when you don't know what punch is going to be thrown, it's the same concept when you don't necessarily know what an actor is going to do or say, and you have to catch it and respond. And, these are just two great heavyweights, going back and forth. So to get a Whitaker opposite of Depp was just huge.
Yeah, definitely. It was just something about them on screen together. It really, just I don't know. It kind of enamored me from the beginning.
Cool.
Um, Knowing that you've also worked with a few musical artists before in your past, what inspired you to create this soundtrack for the film? And have you done others like unique soundtracks for any of your other films, or was this the first?
I was always music supervising my films, meaning I picked all of the songs, handpicked them, cleared them, etc. This was a different venture because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to bring Christopher Wallace and his humanity in particular to life in the film. I didn't think that we could ever replicate what Christopher and Biggie's persona was via an actor. So then I had to figure out from an imagery and iconography standpoint, how could I shoot him so it just doesn't feel like what we've typically seen in reenactments. But then I started to completely embed the movie, like when he's in the car prior to the shooting, with a conversation that he's having, which is a real conversation that we used. And that applied to the music from the standpoint of I wanted to bring Biggie's vocals and that familiarity that we all have with his vocals into the movie, but I wanted to do it in a way that was different in the sense of that it wasn't just like a straight hip hop track, but it was a mixture of like score and genre bending sort of music that would move the needle. So I worked with Alberto Boff very carefully, a friend and producer, a friend of mine, and we created this sound that was really unique and hopefully inspiring because it lays in the film in a way that is I feel very different and it was an aggressive risk and choice, but I felt would hopefully, be consciously and subconsciously impactful for the viewer.
And I really did appreciate it. I thought it was scored uh, pretty nicely. Um, how do you, now that it's officially released, have you gotten any significant feedback from it? Because I know that there was a time where it could have almost never made it. So how does it feel now that the world can finally get it instead of just certain places?
I'm going to answer that question. I just want to add one small thing on the music so I don't forget. Chris Hajian did the sort of emotional overarching score. And I'm always such a team player, and I come from a background of playing athletics and basketball in particular. So I always want to give it to others. So, he's on that team. I just wanted to make that clear. For me, I appreciate that. For me, at this moment in time, it's a bit surreal. But I never felt the film was about me. Usually in a conversation like this, Malik, I would be hoping that you like the movie, and hoping that the world likes the movie so that I can go make other movies and all of these other things that come along with, I think, ego and the work I put into it. This film, whether it's good or bad, chocolate or vanilla for a person, for me, is a story that needed to be told. There was a requirement to pull back the layers of the onion to the dead center and reveal the horrific injustices that have occurred, and the failure of the institutions that we rely on. We rely on these institutions in so many different ways, and in the police in particular, to protect and serve. And obviously, that doesn't happen here at all. So for me, it was always about fighting to honor my responsibility to the film and my commitment to it, to the Poole family, and honoring Russ's life and his commitment and how important his story is. And I know he was aware before his passing of the film and how important that was to him, and to the Wallace family. And that was done by using, myself, Depp, and Whitaker as just as vessels to carry the message. So at this point, I hope these messages spread like wildfire, and hopefully we can maybe just be hopeful enough to spark some kind of change.
Well, I really do hope so. And I appreciate you for joining in, stopping by. This was different because for myself, was born in the mid 90s. So
Mhm.
I've only heard little stories, but to
Sure.
go and watch a film like this and to see the almost like the raw and uncut version of what truly happened, I thought was really inspiring. So I
I
really do appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Where are you from?
I'm born in Gardena,
Oh,
California.
okay. All right. So you're from a California guy. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I just I thought in bringing this to the big screen, it's people intake movies sadly in ways more than they do books and reading.
Mhm.
Reading is very foundational, and people aren't reading enough. So movies are a way to reach the masses. And through a Whitaker and a Depp, we had an opportunity to bring, I felt, as I've said, a really important story. So I appreciate that. Maybe it filled in some gaps, and I sort of tried to Trojan horse in the educational elements of it. And we're in a world in a positive way that's changing. This concept, Black Lives Matter, they do. And Christopher Wallace, whose better name as a Black male to be in the conversation, at a life that was lost at the hands of the police.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I just I'm all out of questions now. I
All
appreciate
right, cool. I appreciate kicking it and spending the time, man, very much. Real honor and pleasure.
look forward to whatever you have planned next. Do you have anything in the works?
I guess my focus has been, I do have things in the works. My focus has been to get this out. And now, once I feel it's out, I am going to take a deep breath and really figure out what makes the most sense for me next. But we'll see. So thank you for the love and appreciation. It means a lot.
Thank you.
All right, Malik, real pleasure.